All right, yeah, guys, doing today we about to hop into Proverbs chapter 5, maybe even chapter 6, depending on how fast this is, because he went pretty fast in the sermon. But we're gonna keep those first things first, though. Make sure you like that video, hit a little exit full screen, scroll a bit, like it, and then full screen it back up. You feel me? So I went shopping today, and they had bread on sale. On sale. They was like bakery discounts. They're selling the bread for half off. Part of me is thinking, what's wrong with this bread? Oh, now I know what's wrong with this bread. There's the due date right there, which is today. I also got some beans out of the Goya aisle, and I saw that they had pineapple wafers and guava wafers. So I'm gonna try those at some point. Um, I'm gonna see how those are. But yeah, they had some bread on sale, and I was like, shoot. So baked bread for half off, you cannot really beat that. So anyway, let's get into Proverbs. All right, so Proverbs chapter 5. So he started this off saying that this was kind of like the marriage chapter, the intimacy chapter. I'm gonna read through it, and then we're gonna talk, or I'll stop at each verse. We're gonna just play it by ear, but also we know what we're talking about. You know, we're locked in. You know, me and you, we're locked in. Anyway, my son, attend unto my wisdom and bow thine ear to my understanding, that you may regard discretion, and that thy lips may keep knowledge. For the lips of a strange woman drops as a honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil. Now, obviously, this is going to say, watch out for the strange woman. And it seems to be its own phrase, just Z-U-R, Zur, however you, Zur, whatever you pronounce that as in Hebrew, is for of a strange woman, which means they probably talked a lot about them. But let's not even get carried away, right? Listen to me, bow thine ear to my understanding, which is this, because the colon, so which is this, that thou mayest regard discretion, right? Let's look up a quick definition of discretion. Care, caution, right? Keep this caution, regard this caution, that your lips keep knowledge. So not only are you bending your ear to his understanding and wisdom, but you're making sure that your mouth is the same, right? You're keeping that knowledge on your tongue. You're keeping your mouth clean, right? Because out of your mouth flows the serpent's tail, asps, whatever words you want to use, right? It flows poison. And we saw in James, you can bridle the whole mouth. No man can bridle the whole mouth, but if you can, keep the knowledge. Right? He's saying your lips keep knowledge, because the lips of a strange woman drops as a honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil. And what do we know about oil? You could slip. You could slip and fall. And what do we say about falling? You fall in love. You don't want to fall in love with that strange woman. But anyway, you can see strange to be a stranger, qual to become a strange foreigner, loathsome, strange woman, prostitute, harlot. So, you know, strange woman could either mean a foreigner, you know, aka somebody that's not of what you are, right? We're citizens of heaven. Anything else from that, if you're of the world, foreigner. Loathsome. You don't want to fall in love with a loathsome woman. We're gonna get to a proverb eventually that says it's better to chill up on the rooftop than live in the house with a angry woman. Anyway, and a strange woman, prostitute, or harlot. You don't want to fall in love with any of them. You know, if they're a reformed prostitute or harlot, you know, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie to you and say that's an easy thing, right? I've thought about this before to some extent, where I'm like, dang, could I really, if I met a nice woman who's in the church and she tells me she used to be like OnlyFans prostitute or whatever, I'm like, can I really put that aside if this is the woman that God's telling me to love? You know, is that something I'm capable of? Or is my flesh gonna be too, you know? And it's not even like I couldn't even tell you what it is. I don't know if my brain's like, well, I waited for marriage. Why couldn't she wait till marriage? Or if it's if she got to have her fun and then she just reformed and all this and just changed and now it's fine, and it's like, where's my past? Like, I don't know what my brain is thinking subconsciously, if I could put it back. But you look at us, all of us, it's the same thing we done did to God, and he still forgave us, and he did that. And then I think in my head, am I better than God? Can I not put this past and forgive that past because it's the woman that God saying I should marry, even though she may have did them things in her past, just like I did things in my past that God wasn't happy with, but he still forgave me and I can't forgive her? I ain't saying it's easy. But at the same time, if she's an active one of these, you know, obviously you good. Anyway, right? So you don't want to fall in love with no strange woman. And we seen what a strange woman is, but her end is as bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. What does it mean by end? Does that mean like the death she's gonna grant you? In the end, she's bitter. Yeah, so she starts off She starts this as a honeycomb. Sweet thing. Smooth and oil. She's slick, smooth, sly, suave. And then you get the bitter, like wormwood. I don't even know what wormwood is, but she ain't really trying to even eat that. You read Calvin and Hobbes, Miss Wormwood, the teacher, or the principal, one of the two? I don't know. I think a teacher. Sharp is a two-edged sword. Hey, the Bible's sharp is a two-edged sword. That's all I'm gonna say. But our feet go down to death. They're walking, and we're told, watch where you're stepping and check all your paths. But her feet, they go into death. Her steps take hold on hell. Unless, for fear that, you should ponder the path of life. She's leading you to hell. For the fear that you should go to the path of life. Her ways are movable, and you cannot know them. What does it mean by movable? She staggers. She wanders. Aimless and unstable. You don't know what this lady doing? AKA, she's volatile. She's liable to change back and forth. We don't like that. We like when the weather is constant. You don't like when the weatherman come on the TV and he's like, all right, guys, it's going to be a sunny day. You're like, hey, sunny day. But don't party too quick. It's not all sunshine and rainbows at 2 p.m. We're going to get a heavy thunderstorm. And you're like, oh. So we're just starting off all sunnily, like honeycombs, and smoother than oil. And then we're getting thunderstorms. And that's not all, because it's going to get ridiculously cold, and then we're going to get some hail. You're like, hail after the thunderstorms. It couldn't get any worse. And then it's not just going to be normal hail. It's going to be golf ball sized hail. So protect your cars. And you're like, how? How? And then he's going to say, and then we may be expecting tornado season. Right? It's just unpredictable, but in the bad way, you know? So hear me now, therefore, ye children, and depart not from the words of my mouth. Remove thy way, right? Get away from her. Far from her. And come not nigh unto the door of her house. Don't even go over there, lest you give honor to others, and thy years unto the cruel. And what do we mean by this, Mr. Wise Man? Lest you give your honor to others, and your years to the cruel. Okay, so yeah, don't give everybody your honor. You know, that's yours. That doesn't mean you shouldn't just give it out at all, but you know, not to some people, right? And your years to the cruel. This is vigor, which is like what, your life energy type thing, right? Like physical strength, good health. Yeah, okay. Also a video game. For fear that strangers be filled with your wealth, and your workers be in the house of a stranger, and you mourn at the last when your flesh and body are consumed, or when their flesh and their body are consumed. What are we talking about here? And at the end of your life, you groan when your flesh and body are consumed, and say, how I have hated instruction and my heart okay. Yeah. So the woman, right? The woman, don't do that. Don't go to her house. Don't give your honor to other people and your years unto the cruel people. And all of this can happen because you've hated instruction, this wisdom, this knowledge, this learning, this understanding, and your heart despised reproof. You didn't want to be corrected. You want to be stuck in your ways. You wanted to be all hard-headed. You know, there's a good old saying. A good old saying. I don't know if it's all of us, but it's in the black community where my dad would always tell me a hard head makes a soft behind. I don't really even know what that means. I just know it meant you're gonna get hit if you do something like hard-headed. You know, we gotta look it up. Or it makes a sore behind. I thought, no, soft behind. Okay, I was gonna say, I swear he always said soft behind. My bad. I don't mean to say I swear. I thought. Basically saying if the child is stubborn and doesn't do what their parents ask them, their behind or butt will be spanked until it gets soft? Question mark. I must have been told that 1,000 times growing up. God gave me another opportunity to be obedient. He said, I will not tolerate this stubborn, hard-headed, stiff-necked spirit any longer. Repent and do right. Bro said, I thought a soft behind was the result of pounding, as if when meat gets tenderized. That's funny. Oh, this guy says it might mean something like a soft target is apparently a phrase, and I don't think I've ever heard that. Some Geechee folklore says a hard head makes a soft back. Anyways, back on topic. And have not obeyed the voice of my teachers. This can be pastors, this can be God, this can be your father or your dad, sorry, or you know, anybody in a higher position than you in your life that's trying to give you instruction or give you reproof. And you didn't obey the voice of your teachers, nor inclined your ear to them that instructed me, aka what Solomon is trying to do right now, right? I was almost in all evil in the midst of the congregation and the assembly, Drink waters out of thine. This basically means I have come to the brink of utter ruin and must face public disgrace. And it says, drink waters out of your own cistern, running waters out of your own well. Let thy fountains be dispersed abroad, and the rivers of waters in the streets. The AMP says your springs be children, just like the rivers and waters in the streets. Let them only be your own, and not strangers with thee. This is referencing back to the stranger, right? Let your kids be dispersed abroad, and let them only be your kids, and not the stranger's wife's kids, or the stranger woman's kids. Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of your youth, aka your first wife. Keep her. Don't get divorced. Don't do nothing like that. Let her be as the loving hind in the pleasant roe. Yep. That's the verse that everyone. Yep. And wilt thou, my son, be ravished with a strange woman and embrace the bosom of a stranger? For all the ways of man go before the eyes of the Lord, and he ponders all his goings. That's why we acknowledge the Lord in everything we do, because the ways of man are before the eyes of the Lord, and he ponders all his goings. His own iniquities shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be holden with the cords of his sins. His own iniquities take the wicked man himself. So it's basically gonna kill him. The iniquities done by a wicked man will trap him, and it will be held with the cords of his sin. He shall die without instruction, and in the greatness of his folly he shall go astray. And he brought up this story that he read in a book that was about this guy who ran a church, and he had a guy in the congregation who said, yep, I'm leaving this woman, I'm going to be with this woman. And the pastor said, you shouldn't do that, blah 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 blah. And he's like, are you trying to rob me of my salvation? And he said, if you have salvation, I'm not trying to rob you of it. If you're not God's child, you're acting in the way of the devil and the way he wants you to act. If you are a child of God, I just want you to know that at some point God is going to bring you in a shed. He's going to beat you so bad until you're within an inch of your life, if not kill you. And blah blah blah. Time goes on. That guy's now miserable in life and he hates it, and I think they're still married or whatever he said in the story. I don't really remember. Point being, right, he brought up the beating in the shed thing, like we were talking about. Hard head makes a soft butt, because you're gonna get beat or tenderized, if you want to speak like that dude spoke, that one guy in the comments. And basically saying, right, listen to the instruction. He's trying to reprove you. All this is gonna form you. Count all suffering as the testing and working of beautiful things for your faith and endurance, right? If you're a child of God and you're acting in wrongful ways, right, the wages of sin is death. Whether that be a life, maybe it may not be. He said he's seen many things die: marriages, jobs, reputations, stuff like that. Things die because of sin, but we were called to live. All right, that's gonna be the end of the chapter. Hope you guys have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day. Peace.